Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is dedicated to the Instant Pot. If you have an electric pressure cooker, this video will be compatible with that as well. So it doesn't have to be Instant Pot brand. That is a brand of electric pressure cooker, okay? So if you want to look up recipes like on the internet, Pinterest, things like that, if you type in Instant Pot, it will give you recipes that will work with any electric pressure cooker, okay? A stovetop pressure cooker is slightly different. So today's video is dedicated to the Instant Pot. This one has been a long time coming. I was asked to put one of these out quite a while ago, and I do apologize that it's taken so long. I'm going to make two things using my Instant Pot today. They're super simple. I may have even made them before, but mainly, I just want to show you how it works, okay? I want to help take the fear away from using an electric pressure cooker. So when I bought my Instant Pot, a couple of years ago now, it came with the cooking component, okay? It came with an inner pot. The Instant Pot has a stainless steel bowl. Other brands might have Teflon, but it's the same thing, okay? This pot goes inside your pressure cooker. You cannot use this on a stove. Don't use it on a stove, okay? You want to keep this in your pressure cooker, okay? So that goes in there. Then you have a lid, and the lid will have some kind of rubber gasket, and this one is red. Mine came with two, a clear one and a red one. And quite often you would use one for things like yogurt, neutral smelling products, and then the other rubber ring you would use for more fragrant things. So think like a curry, because you wouldn't want to make a curry and then the next time you use your Instant Pot and maybe you want to make some vanilla yogurt, your yogurt could take on some of that flavor, even though it would be washed. So these are the parts that you wash. You wash your lid, you wash your rubber ring, and you wash your inner pot. Do not wash this. This is electric. Okay. So the other thing that my Instant Pot came with was a little tiny circular rack with little handles, okay? And that lives in there. I'm going to use that today. I'm going to show you how I make boiled eggs with that, which I've done before, but if you're looking for Instant Pot, this is the beginning video, and I might do some more other dishes if that's something of interest. So if Instant Pot cooking or electric pressure cooker cooking is something of interest of you, please let me know in the comments below. I do read the comments. I don't always have time to comment back or to like them. However, I try to take on feedback when you do leave it. So I'm going to plug my pot in. You do all your cooking in your inner pot, and your lid needs to be securely on. Now this one has like a little chime. If you listen, when you get it right, did you hear that? Okay, so that is telling me my lid has been placed on correctly. Now, if I try to lift this, the whole pot comes with it, okay? It's not like a saucepan lid that is locked in place. And no, I don't recommend doing that. That was purely to show you, okay? If you do need to carry this around, use the little wings, okay? The other thing with Instant Pot is it does have these little tabs on the side and a hole here, and you can rest your lid in here, and then condensation and things from the lid will drip into this rim, and there's usually a little cup on the back. Now mine's missing, like I said, mine's quite old now. The pot is the same, even different models will have different buttons, but essentially the presets are what they are. We have a soup button, a meat button, a bean button, poultry, slow cook, saute, rice, multigrain porridge, steam, yogurt, and pressure cook. Most recipes, unless it is specifically like I'm cooking rice in my Instant Pot as a rice cooker, or I'm making yogurt in my Instant Pot. Saute is its own thing because saute is going to only heat your bottom element. There's not going to be the pressure buildup. So that's just like cooking in an electric frying pan for reference. Slow cook is equivalent to a slow cooker. In my recent slow cooking video, it's been asked a couple of times, is the slow cooking function on my Instant Pot rubbish? Well, that was the first time I'd ever used my slow cooker on the Instant Pot, and my dish turned out fine. So if you have a problem with your slow cooking function on your Instant Pot, I'm not sure what to suggest there other than just use a regular slow cooker. I don't use this as a slow cooker purely because I have other slow cookers and then I can free this up for other things. So something that I make every single week is yogurt in my Instant Pot. I will do an updated video on yogurt soon. It does take sort of 24 hours, so I need to know I don't need my Instant Pot for any other reason if I'm going to make yogurt. I also have used it in the past to make rice. And when I use those, I use the functions. When it comes to making spaghetti and meatballs, when it comes to making curries, when it comes to making chili, when it comes to making boiled eggs, when it comes to making pulled meats, I just use my pressure cook button. But there are recipes out there, if you wanted to use different buttons, give them a go. What those other buttons are, they're presets, okay? So they've already got the pressure level, the release level, things like that preset, okay? If you're following a recipe though, you're probably going to be told natural pressure release for, 45 minutes and then quick release. And what does that mean? That is referring to the pressure buildup in your Instant Pot. So this is a pressure cooker, as we have established. Unless we're using the slow cook function, the saute function, or the yogurt function, everything else is actually a pressure cooker. So do not ever take the lid off of an electric pressure cooker or any pressure cooker without releasing all of the steam. How do you know if it's released? In the same way that if you've watched any of my canning videos and I've gone through some canning safety, there's a little toggle here. Right now, my lid is safe to open because you can't see that toggle raised. If that toggle was up like this, if the toggle looked like that, that means there is heavy pressure inside of this pot and we do not open it. Okay, this is the vent that the steam is going to come out of. If we push this button here, that's going to release the steam that has built up and the pressure inside our pot. So you don't want to have anything in that vicinity. You'll get a steam burn if you put your hand there. And I have heard of people putting tea towels and things like that over the top to try and stop the steam, like going up into cupboards and things like that. And as far as I'm aware, that's not a recommended practice. So before I use my pressure cooker, I make sure I put it in an area of the kitchen that is safe for the steam to be released. So if we naturally release the steam, that just means once it's finished its cooking, its pressure cooking, you're going to just wait it out until it naturally drops that pin. Once the cooking function is off on our pot, it will begin that process of naturally releasing its pressure. That is going to take a while. It usually takes quite a while, actually, depending on how much pressure is built. If you're following a recipe and it says NP or NR, that's natural release, so that's just leaving it. If it says quick release or QR, that means push your button, turn your knob, whatever you happen to have on your machine, allow that steam out quickly. Once your toggle safely drops down, only then you can open your lid. I will go through this when we're cooking, but I do want to make sure that this video has the information you need. I don't want people out there to be scared of using an electric pressure cooker, okay? as long as everything is intact and looks in good condition, there really shouldn't be any problems. I always use mine on the bench top. I've never put it on the stove top, even though I have a range hood above it that could take the steam and things like that. I usually do it on the island here because it's out more in the open. I have done it in the past under my cupboard over there, and it has pushed the steam straight up into that cupboard. So do keep in mind where you choose to use your pressure cooker, and you don't want to move it around once it's set. Okay, so I think we've covered just about all the basics. If you follow a recipe specifically and it says things, just follow each step one at a time. Make sure you release your pressure as per the instructions, and never open your lid until you know it is safe. If you keep those things in mind, don't ever operate this piece of equipment under any influence of any kind of medications or drugs. But I would, it's hard to go wrong, okay? Pressure cooking will give you a very similar result to low and slow cooking, except much, much quicker. So I'm going to do pulled beef in here today. Now, pulled beef, if I was to do it in a Dutch oven pot, in my oven or on my stovetop, would take a few hours. If I did it in my slow cooker, it would take around 4 to 6 hours, okay? It's going to take 45 minutes plus the release time, okay? That's really quick when it comes to like doing the same process. So what the other thing we have here is, on my inner pot, I will show you, hopefully you can see, there are some engraved lines there. One says PC Max, and then a 2-3, and then a 1-2 at the bottom. So that's just saying if you're putting things in here, so think a soup or something, and your food level cannot go above that line, okay? You've got to have room in this pot to build pressure. The other thing that happens, and this happens quite a bit with mine, is you could get a food burn warning when you've got food pressure cooking in here. And what that means is that something in your dish has stuck to the base of the pot, and it's going to be burnt if the pot continues along its path that you've set it. So what it often recommends, if that happens, is to release your pressure. Don't forget to release your pressure. Take the lid off. Give your contents a good stir. Really scrape the base of your pot and then go again. I do notice that whenever I use the pressure cooker for things like stews and stuff like that, you do need a pretty good amount of liquid in here, as opposed to you can't just add a heap of starchy food and then expect it not to get a burn notice, okay? So let's get into making some boiled eggs, because boiled eggs don't take long. I'm doing hard boiled eggs. That's purely because it's our preferred boiled egg, okay? So for boiled eggs, I don't want my eggs sitting on the bottom of my pot. It's not going to be the same as boiling eggs where I would have them submerged in water. What I'm going to do is put my rack in my pot, and then I'm going to put water into here just up to the bottom of the rack. I'm not actually going to have my eggs sitting in water at all. So this is my kettle, and the water was boiled earlier, but it does not need to be boiling water. And I'm just going to put up to the bottom of my rack. Okay. But my rack is dry. All right, now I'm just going to put my eggs into my pot and sit them on my rack. You don't need to have excess water. They don't need it. All right, now the great thing about doing hard-boiled eggs in the pressure cooker is they take 5 minutes of pressure cooking, 5 minutes of natural pressure release, then your quick release, and then they are 5 minutes in an ice bath before they're ready to peel and enjoy. So I've put my eggs are in here. Okay, as you can see, oops, and they've just gotten wet because I tilted it. Lid on. Now I'm just going to press my pressure cook button, and now what we want to do is up either plus or minus until we get to the amount of time we require. So when you're reading a recipe for an Instant Pot or pressure cooking, it's going to give you a time of pressure. So pressure cook for 45 minutes. That alarm is telling me that we are on, okay? So it's changed from a time number now to an on number. So if this was a boiled egg recipe, it would say pressure cook for 5 minutes. So that's what I've done. I've hit pressure cook, I've made sure the number was 5, and then it naturally just turns itself on and starts the process. This is now building pressure inside my machine. The toggle is still down, okay? It hasn't popped up. If it had, but don't open it, all right? It is doing what it needs to do to build the right amount of pressure. Once my machine gets to that right amount of pressure, the toggle is going to pop up, and when all of that happens, the countdown will start. So my 5 minutes will start counting down to 0. Once it hits 0, that is when we are going to hear an alarm go off, which is essentially telling us the pressure cooking is complete. It will automatically click itself over to keep warm once it runs out of pressure, and it will automatically start naturally releasing the pressure. So if it was a recipe that was requiring me to naturally pressure release until it was like done, all I'm doing then is waiting for that toggle to drop. So that could take half an hour and it could take less. So that's something to just keep in mind. A recipe for pressure cooking might say it only takes 45 minutes, but natural pressure release. That is automatically going to be much longer than 45 minutes, but not as long as if you were to cook something a more traditional way or a different way. So this is on. I will bring you back once the timer starts and I will show you where we're at. So my pressure cooker was making some funny little gurgly, steamy noises. That's normal, okay? It is now up to pressure. So you can see the little toggle has risen. All right, we may get some steam splattery sort of things coming out of there, but that's okay too. That little alarm or beep sound was the timer starting. So now it says 5 instead of on, and we are essentially counting down from here. All right, just drying some dishes here. So that was the alarm to say pressure cooking is finished. The 5 minutes is up. Keep warm button's on, but the pressure cook button is off. The toggle is still up, and I want this to natural release. I want this to natural release for 5 minutes. So if I keep watching this, that will now start counting upways in a timer of keep warm. So that will be 5 minutes. When it reaches 5 minutes, there you go, that's 1 minute. When it reaches 5 minutes, I will release the pressure. And there it has hit 5 minutes of basically natural pressure release. So there's no specific label to say that's what's happening, but that is what's happening. Now at 5 minutes, nothing has happened with the toggle. Okay, so this used to have a little knob on it. Mine broke, so now all I do is press a button. When I press that, steam come out of here until the pressure is released and that drops down. So you can see the steam is just coming out, like it's not coming out in rapid amounts. However, my toggle was still up. Now that my toggle is down, the lid is safe to open. The toggle has dropped, my lid is safe to open. It will still be hot, so always open away from you, okay? I've got a bowl here of iced water because I need to put my eggs into iced water. And they're gonna be pretty hot, so I'm gonna grab some tongs. So when I opened that, it resets the little button at the back that I pressed. Okay, this is where you could leave this sitting like that, or I'll just move it out of the way. So now my eggs will be fully hard boiled. There's still water in my pot. And one of them has come out of its shell altogether. Okay, I'm going to discard that one because I have a feeling it must have had a hairline crack. Nothing else has cracked, which makes me think this had a crack in it. And we have such an abundance of eggs with our own chickens that I don't need to hang on to this one. Okay, so my eggs are finished. That is the end of needing the pressure cooker for my boiled eggs. I'm going to leave these to sit in here. I'm going to make our dinner now. So dinner tonight is going to be some barbecue pulled beef. We're going to have this on either baked potatoes or we might put it into a wrap. I haven't actually decided. That's just going to be the meat component. So all I'm going to do is take my pot out, give it a quick wash, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how we're going to put together a really simple pulled beef. And just remember, this has been cooking, so that inner pot will be hot. When you need to wash, take your inner pot out, and this is the part that you clean up, okay? You can wipe that over, but this is the part we put through the washing process. So now I'm just going to show you how to make a really simple pulled beef, like a barbecue style pulled beef. This works for pork. You can also do like shredded chicken and things like that in here. All of them work really well. You can, like when you're making a casserole or a hot pot, something like that, you can start sauteing in your Instant Pot and then you can add other ingredients and turn it into like a wet dish. Today, I'm not doing that. I'm going to dump everything in here just like I would for a slow cooker, but I'm going to use my pressure cooking program. So what I've got in this bowl is just some roughly 3 centimeter pieces of beef rump. I've got a dry mix here that I just want to rub over this before I pop it in. And what I have is, and I'll make sure the quantities are down below for you, but we have some brown sugar, garlic powder, onion powder, tiny bit of cumin, some celery salt, and some smoked paprika. Now I'll also add some pepper to this. I don't need to add salt because we have celery salt. If I didn't have celery salt, I'd just use regular salt. And this is just a basic barbecue dry rub. And by dry rub, that's exactly what we're doing. We're just going to give our meat a bit of flavour. And this then could be sauteed or started off in a little bit of olive oil. But as I said, that's not what I'm going to do today. I'm keeping it as simple as I possibly can. The first recipes that you make in your Instant Pot, if you make simple things, it will probably give you the confidence to then attempt things that seem a little bit more challenging or unfamiliar to you. So I thought these are simple things that pretty much anyone could make. Now, because I don't want to get a burn notice in my Instant Pot, what I'm going to do, now that is still on keep warm, so I'm just going to hit cancel. I'm wondering why when I touch it, why is it still warm? The keep warm was still on. What I'm going to do is put my wet ingredients in here, then my meat, and then we can turn it on. I am going to put some onions in my pulled beef as well. So I've just grabbed a couple of onions out of the garden. They are finally ready to start harvesting, or sort of harvest as you go, I guess. So we haven't got tops fallen over or anything like that, but we are getting some decent size out there. So I'm just slicing up 2 medium onions. That is the extent of the cutting that I need to do today. I've got 1 jar. I have 1 jar of This is chicken stock. You could use beef stock. You could use water and a little bit of stock powder too. So it's completely up to you. You could use just water if you wanted. So 1.5 cups roughly of stock. I want to add a little bit of apple cider vinegar. Another thing that's really nice with barbecue flavored pulled pork or beef is apple juice. So I'm just going to add about a tablespoon, roughly, of my apple cider vinegar. I've got a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. These are just my flavors going in here. This is going to form my sauce, my barbecue sauce. So if I want to thicken it when my meat is finished, I can hit that saute button with the lid off and let it sort of self-evaporate too. So I've got mustard, and we're going in with a tablespoon of mustard. And 1/2 cup of barbecue sauce, and use your favorite barbecue sauce. This is not my favorite barbecue sauce. This is just regular old barbecue sauce. I have made some really delicious barbecue sauces and canned them in the past. I've run out of those. The ones that I like to use if I'm using a commercial one are Sweet Baby Ray's. They are delicious. They're very high in sugar, I think, but they're delicious. So any of those really yummy barbecue style or fancy style barbecue sauces, go in with those if you want your meat to taste even better. Okay, so that's the mustard stock. Gonna add my barbecue sauce. Okay, I'm going to give that a whisk just so that everything's well combined. I'm going to add my onions. They will form part of the sauce because they'll basically just break down. Okay, and then straight in with our beef. You want to make sure that the sides of your inner pot are pretty well clear. So if you had food up here, you just want to push it down, but that's looking pretty good. So my ingredients are in here. This particular recipe calls to be pressure cooked for 45 minutes. Once the alarm goes off that the pressure cooking is complete, I'm going to let this naturally release, so basically doing nothing, for another 15 minutes. And remember, that's when that timer will start counting up instead of down, and the keep warm function will be on. After that 15 minutes of natural pressure release, that is when I will release any pressure that's left in my pot, and I'll check to make sure my beef is tender, it's falling apart. We want it to be pulled beef. If when I go to check it at that point, it needs longer, I'll do another pressure cook for about 10-15 minutes and let it naturally pressure release for about 10 as well. So there's a little bit of troubleshooting when it comes to working with recipes, but if you're following a recipe that you're comfortable with and you're using the same ingredients, and this person has put out good recipes before, probably can just go with that. So I want to hit pressure cook on my display. I want to push the up button until I see 45 minutes. 45. Now I can walk away, I can do some dishes, I can get some sides made, whatever I need to do. This little machine is going to do its own thing. That's the indicator to say it's on. If it buzzes at me or makes a beep at me when it's not 45 minutes, I just need to look at the display. If it's having a food burn notice, it will make a noise and it will say food burn on the screen when it comes to Instant Pot. I'm not sure about your other brands pressure cookers, but when it comes to Instant Pot, it does tell you, okay? Hopefully this one is going to just be good, because I don't like it when I have to continually open, scrape the bottom of my pot, start again, things like that. It ends up taking a really long time. But being honest with the pressure cooking and how it works, that is something to keep in mind if you're choosing to use it. All right, so my pressure cooker has done its 45 minutes and it's had its 15 minutes natural pressure release, which means I've done nothing for 15 minutes and just let it do its thing. The toggle is still up, so what I need to do is hit that release button here to let all the rest of the steam out of my pot, like that. It won't take long because it has been releasing pressure this whole time. The toggle has dropped down, so now I'm safe to open my lid. Still remembering, let's keep it away from us. Okay. And I'm just going to check my beef to see how soft it is, if we are able to pull it or if we're going to need to pressure cook for just a little bit longer. It is coming apart. Right, tastes delicious. It's like right on the cusp. It will pull, but if it had just a little bit longer, I feel like we would get a little bit softer meat, but that is it. We can pull that apart. So now all I need to do is shred my meat, turn off my equipment altogether. That is hot, but I'm going to pull it out anyway so that I can show you, and then I'll just shred my meat and that is dinner. We can either drain off any excess liquid through a colander. We could put the saute mode on and let it bubble away and sort of evaporate out any excess liquid. So thank you for spending time with me today. I do hope that you enjoyed this video, that it was helpful for anyone who has been maybe apprehensive on using an electric pressure cooker or an Instant Pot. I hope this has been something of help to you. Yeah, and if you want to see some actual pressure cooking or some Instant Pot recipes, let me know down below, because I have more slow cooker recipes coming and I can happily make a pressure cooker video as well for you. So this is video 1 in the how to get used to your Instant Pot, I guess. I will also add, anyone who has fresh eggs at home knows how difficult they can be to peel. As soon as your eggs are a bit older, they're much easier to peel out of their shells. I do find that by hard boiling, or when you're boiling eggs, I mean, by hard boiling using my Instant Pot, they're much easier to get out of their shell. We have far less sticking to the membrane, which is what happens with regular boiled eggs when they're super fresh. So if you are having trouble with your eggs sticking because they're super fresh and you have got an Instant Pot, give it a try on boiling your eggs that way and see how you go. But I will catch you next time. Thanks for watching the video, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. See you later.